Hi, I'm Nicholas Wallwork. Welcome to the channel and welcome to my client's site in Church Crookham in Fleet. We're very excited to be on site. I'm joined today by Lucy Barrett from Vantage Finance, and we're going to be talking about financing this site today, how it was done, some of the problems that arose, and the record timescales it was done in. So welcome, Lucy.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you for joining us. And I guess one of my first questions is, what were the biggest challenges that were overcome here? Firstly, what products were used and what were some of the challenges of those products for this particular purchase?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed working on this one. We had a fantastic team around us, project managers, lawyers, bank, everybody worked so hard and the clients were brilliant. When I first took the call and spoke to the clients and we were looking at different things for them, I quickly learned they didn't have experience, albeit they did have a large buy-to-let portfolio. But that doesn't really cut it when it comes to development finance, especially when you're looking at a project of this size. We're not talking, a nice small intro. We've gone straight into
We've
something
gone in deep, haven't we?
Yeah, something pretty big here. So
jump in the deep end and learn to swim.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first took the call, I was a bit, I suppose, conscious that I wanted to try and get them the absolute best product, but often if you haven't got experience, it does get a little bit more expensive. So that was stage one. We kind of looked about it, talked about some different things, and then all of a sudden this building came in and it was full steam ahead. I was told we've got 3 weeks to exchange and then a further 3 weeks for completion.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, which it sounds like a reasonable amount of time. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a reasonable amount of time, but actually that first 3 weeks was the most crucial, given that there were some challenges around experience. I never ever want my customers to exchange on something unless I'm really confident and they're really comfortable that they're going to be able to get the finance that they need. So we moved very quick, we mobilised, we got a great quote together. The clients were very specific about how much money they wanted to put into it. So I didn't have a huge remit. It was, this is what we've got to put in, make it happen, just to add a slight more complication to the mix.
Yep.
So we managed to get the terms pretty quickly and we got to valuation. It was a bit slower on the valuation than I'd have liked. However, we did get some good indication of what the numbers were likely to be.
And what's the product that we were using for this one?
Exactly. So it was a full development loan. We did the same that you would use for a ground up development, just because it's a conversion. The build costs are actually very high in conjunction with the purchase price. So it was a full on, you get a land loan towards the acquisition and then the customer puts in the balance of their equity to bring it to the purchase price, and then all of the build costs are funded 100% from that moment on. So it's a real traditional development finance product with a bank.
Yep, okay, brilliant. And what kind of loan to value does this one work out to be on the total costs? So that's site value and all of the development costs, roughly loan to value?
Yeah, we were about 85% loan to cost on this one, which worked out broadly 65% loan to GDV.
Yep.
So actually gearing for a client's first development was fantastic, and we had to really hinge on the project management and your involvement to make sure that the bank were comfortable that the project size was right for the customer. Really, really strong customer profile, but unfortunately, the bank doesn't only rely on their wealth, their buy-to-lets and everything else. It's very much experience for this type of project.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some products out there potentially for, clients that don't have all that experience, but at a higher cost, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
and we got them a really good product here.
Yeah, no, it's been a really good product, and the bank's been amazing.
They've honestly, you need to have the bank fully on board if you're going to deliver a timescale like that. They work with us every step of the way. I was really pleased with everything that they did. Every time we had a challenge, you can talk to them, and that's the key really. And we always will work with what we've got. So if you tell me we've got 6 weeks to do it, I know who I need to talk to, and I know which banks I can't talk to, because some can deliver and some can't. Sure. And that's really where our expertise come into play.
It absolutely does, and we've had some shockers of late where banks have just delayed, but it's been a tricky year with COVID, so that's thrown a spanner in the works in some cases. But for this, unbelievable performance from yourselves and Vantage Finance, and obviously I'm sure the client and us are extremely grateful that you've been able to deliver this site in what is record time in normal conditions, let alone in a tricky market. So,
yeah, it was good. It was good. We got it done within the deadline, and I think that always makes everybody, you go away with everyone having a good taste in their mouth, whereas if you miss it even by a few days, there's just that air of frustration because you get to the point of the deadline and you've missed it, and however many days you've missed it by, people become frustrated. So we did have to manage it to within an inch of its life, because there were a few complications, as you will well know. When we first looked at it, we were looking at maybe doing it as a multi-let type scenario with letting it room by room. And then as you went and got the agents' opinions and did quite a lot of work with the local estate agents, we realised that actually the value of having them...
The 44 flats.
Configured as the planning was for resale of 44 flats was a really good scheme in itself. So we did change a little bit at that point, and then hanging around in the background was also the potential that maybe a housing association might come in and do a pre-let, but they weren't going to do that before the building was acquired. So we couldn't lend off of that assumption. It had to be purely on our assumption A, which was selling them as 44 units. However, in the background, we needed to look at the costs of future-proofing it should that housing association tenant come forward, and obviously managing that with the bank to make sure they were comfortable, they understood exactly what we were doing. We like to be honest, open and transparent with everybody, so it's important that everyone knows exactly the direction we're moving in and there's no surprises down the line.
I think you've hit on some of the problems with the site, but they're the strongest things about the site, and one of the reasons the clients bought the site is that uplift of potentially strong lease that can uplift the value by another 10 to 20% actually.
It was huge. The valuation came back really supportive of that method of letting, but obviously you can't lend off of a value which is just a maybe, because until that lease is signed or there's an agreement to lease, it's just an idea. So you had to look at the lower assumption, albeit in the background we're all hoping that does come through, because it does add a great amount of value, and obviously the rental yield as well.
I think the detail of how to present that to the lender and the separate elements it's an ongoing discussion. It's an ongoing work from you and the site. So you're not just coming to site, doing a mortgage, off you go, don't see you until the next deal. You're an integral part of this deal in terms of the relationship management with the bank, presenting the information in the correct manner, and in a manner that they understand and know what they're lending on. And if we make other changes that aren't fundable, they need to know about that. And we've got decisions to make throughout the course of this build on layout tweaks, specification changes, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we try and be really hands-on, so not just in finding a bank and then saying, good luck, off you go. We like to manage it through, so we do tend to stay involved in the drawdown process, we stay involved in any changes, we keep the communication open, because if you do hit a problem down the line and our involvement stopped right at the beginning, we have to then try and bring ourselves up to speed, and I think that's part of the value that we add. We are very hands-on at all points throughout the process.
Definitely. Well, let's have a little wander around the building, shall we? Let's go. We're here on site in Fleet with Lucy from Vantage Finance, and this is the first time we've seen it as strip out's just begun. We're a couple of weeks into strip out now, and this was an office. This was a fully fledged office, and it looked half decent, didn't it, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah,
and we've wrecked it, which is great.
Looked fully functioning.
Fully functioning building, half destroyed.
Amazing progress in such a short space of time, though.
It's incredible, isn't it? What's the lender's view actually? And this is a really good question. I'm just kind of running through my head as we speak. To this kind of strip out works, because actually you could argue you're devaluing the building for a period of time by doing this to it before you actually start the proactive development work. So,
and that's one of the, I suppose, intricacies of development finance and why lenders want you to be experienced, because there are points where the building will go backwards before it goes forwards. Obviously, if you have a piece of land and you're building up, it's different, because usually everything would involve a value add. But there are conversion scenarios where it goes backwards before it goes forwards. However, I think in this situation, they don't really take the value of it as an office, as a functioning office. They strip it back purely on a residual basis and look at the end value, the costs to do it, and whatever's in here or not. So whether they lent at this point or when it was a fully functioning office, it doesn't really matter to them. No. It's more about the total cost to complete, coming off the GDV, to look at it then on a residual basis, building in a developer's profit. So really it doesn't make much difference, and they're used to this. This is what they'll see every day. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of exciting and shocking at the same time to see a site in this state. And as we go through the year, hopefully we'll be meeting again and doing a few videos on site, just to kind of show the progress to the audience back home. One of the things I think's important to cover is this is an office to residential conversion. It's a big old office. This is 30,000 square foot, so it's absolutely huge, massive in size. And what's the kind of appetite of lenders of this size of conversion? This is one of the biggest ones I've been involved in.
Yeah.
We've done stuff sort of 12,000 square foot before, but this is one of the bigger ones. So how does it differ in terms of lender appetite, or doesn't it?
No, it does. It definitely does.
Okay.
So each lender will have their appetite for how many units they're prepared to accept. Sometimes it's not a straight cut-off. Yeah, sometimes it's unusual that a lender will have a definitive cut-off that it's 20, 30, 40 units. But what they'll do is they'll look at how many units it is for the area and what the marketing, saleability and demand is going to be.
Sure. So case by case basis.
Of course it is, yeah. So if you're somewhere like this, you're in a great location, commuter area. I think it's quite quick into London. You've got lots of business parks in the area. And obviously there'll be a certain amount of weight put on the valuation and agents' opinions on how quickly those units can sell, they can let, and then it's done purely off the back of that demand. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to sell something that's 100 units, in a saturated market, clearly a lender's going to be a bit more nervous. Of course. But conversely, one thing lenders really don't like is high value single units. They would rather it be split between, affordable, if you like, units than it being one property that's 3.5 million. Okay. Because that could potentially take longer to sell. Yeah,
so sensibly priced units, not oversaturation, looking at the demand in the area, all factors in. Concentration risk, we might call that.
And the loan term has to make sense as well. So, if you're selling 44 units, you need to have a reasonable marketing period and obviously a reasonable strategy as well. So I think with something like this, no doubt you'll get a show home and you'll start marketing it before the building's complete, which you would expect. Some off-plan
sales, if it's the sales route. Hopefully we're aiming for a longer corporate kind of housing association style lease. We've got a few people we're talking to regarding that. So, I think the life cycle of a deal can be two ways on this one, and that's posed some challenges and some risks, but some huge opportunities as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Kind of looking at every deal as to how that exit might look, and hopefully we aim for the best and plan for the worst, I guess, in most property deals. Well, thanks very much, Lucy, for joining me today and going through the site here of our client that has got a really exciting opportunity to turn this into something special. 44 stunning high-spec flats, which have a couple of exit options. And I always believe in exit options with property. If you can have multiple exit options, you've kind of minimised your risk. And we all know kind of property investing is all about reducing risk and increasing returns. So on this site, we're able to do both, hopefully. So that's why it represents an excellent opportunity. If you've liked today's video, you want to find out more, if you want to see the follow-on from this, Lucy and I will be meeting several times throughout this year, going through this site, seeing the progress. We'll also be doing a walkthrough on another video as a kind of grand tour of the whole site, so watch out for that. If you want to be a part of that journey and learn lots of interesting property education, please click on the subscribe button. Make sure you do that, or you're going to miss out on lots of great content. Hit the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new and exciting property investment video. It's been great having you here today. See you again soon.